Hi, so welcome back. Today we are going to start talking about building your toolkit. And there's an important reason why I'm starting with that first. So let's get started. So when we talk about building your own personal toolkit, another way of looking at that is rewriting or editing. And it's very different to a number of other techniques, and in fact any other course. It's my way of doing it. So this is my technique, building your toolkit, because structure is important, facing the blank page is important, feeling creative is important, but none of this really is as important as being able to turn whatever you first create into something really good, or into something professional and something that gets the message across. And if I focus your mind now on your rewriting skills, then it will settle down into the deeper parts of your brain and become more powerful there. And what I find is the power of editing, knowing that you can rewrite, really saves you in the creative stage and in the planning stage. Okay, you're less likely to get tripped up and stuck because you know that you can fix and sort out whatever the problem is later down the line. I don't know if I've told you this already, guys, but I studied neuroscience at Cambridge University. And so, look, there's some science behind this theory about the way your mind works in the background, that your mind is always working. It isn't just when you're actively thinking about something. So that's all the deep level stuff. Now I want to give you the really practical to the point things. So that's the background, and it actually leads into the first and obvious part, because when we talk, we throw in a lot of extra words. Okay, my introduction here is covered some other points, but when we talk to people face to face, our sentences aren't whole, our thoughts aren't necessarily in the perfect order, there are extra words, and when those aren't there, people actually sound really stilted and the conversation sounds strange. So when you're talking to somebody and you talk as if you're writing, it sounds odd. And then likewise, when you read, oh my God, and it's actually written out as if someone was talking to you, it's awful. So I don't know if you've ever had to transcribe an audio recording or if you ever read one, but if you just read through what somebody said, it's really not clear. And we can talk about the neuroscience of why that is, but let's get practical and actually say, no. Stephen King, possibly one of the most successful writers of all time, urges writers to cut at least 10% from the first draft. And I've always found that a really good rule of thumb to follow. So 10% of everything. Okay, and that's actually going to be your first point of call at the end of today's lesson. Why? Here are some examples that you can read on the site. It seems to me the only way that I can imagine this working is if people lose interest. The only way I can imagine this working is it's shorter and it's better. Okay, we've definitely got rid of the 10%. Some of the things we calculate to be our favourite turn out not to incur a cost, and on and on and on it goes with lots of unnecessary long words. What's another way of saying this? The best things in life are free. That's a really obvious, powerful example of where less is more. And I just wanted to add in a caveat here. Sometimes when you're writing about dialogue, and particularly when you're developing characters, so that might be in fiction, but it might also be in travel writing or in newspaper writing, when you're quoting people and you want to give a sense of their character, of the way that they speak, then you might want to keep some of the rambling in, okay? But not all of it. And it should be able to be obvious that that's what you're doing for a character point and not just because you've let everybody ramble on because you're not in control of the material. Another really good way of ditching the passive, excuse me. Another really good way of trimming out the fat is to avoid the passive tense. So I'm not going to talk about a lot of grammar in this course, only the useful stuff. When we read, we prefer to read active sentences. So that is the point of, let's look at the examples. The water was brought by the waiter. Okay, it's passive. We're talking about the water and we're saying it was brought. Okay, the waiter brought the active. Subject here is the waiter and they're bringing the water. Okay, you don't have the to be verb in there. Facebook was invented. It's passive. College kids invented Facebook. Well, that's an active example. Mark Zuckerberg invented Facebook. Another active example. Someone invented Facebook. Active again. But you can see that each three of these sentences, provides more information. In the first example, we're not adding information. All we still know is that the water arrived on the table and the waiter did the bringing, but we get there shorter. And it's the sort of thing that we don't notice when we're reading line by line, sentence by sentence, but we really, really do notice in terms of this is powerful and this has hooked me versus this is dull and I can't be bothered to finish reading it. Okay, so it also shortens the text. Passive is also often used, particularly in academic and scientific writing, which I used to do a lot of, and it's often used to convey a sense of authority. Sometimes you have to use it. Sometimes it's considered really bad practice to enter into a scientific text saying, we did this experiment, we boiled the water, we added the hydrogen sulfide, okay? So because you're trying to create an impersonal recipe. But even when you're writing like that, I would urge you not to use it whenever you can get away with not using it, basically. If you have to for style reasons, for technical reasons, then fine, but always look out for it, okay? The next we're going to talk about is a bit more fun. So I'm going to try and add some of these fun flourishes through the course. We're going to talk about structure of writing. We're going to talk structure of your careers. And sometimes that takes a little while to digest or to dissolve. And so I want to make sure that every lesson has every lesson, let's be bold. Every lesson has one takeaway that you can use straight away and that's really fun and it might be something that you haven't thought about. So today that's going to be the rhythm of three. And whether that's one word at a time or a series of sentences or even the way that a screenplay is structured or a piece of work in the theatre, we just seem to love this rhythm of three. Okay, just do it. Do it doesn't work. It's just too abrupt. Just do it now doesn't work. Just do it now in a minute if you wouldn't mind is really bad. Okay, another example. You get me a coffee, you get me my briefcase, and you get a haircut. Okay, the rhythm, the punchline doesn't work without that three. You get me a coffee, you get me a haircut. That just makes you sound a bit bossy and weird. You get me a coffee, you get me my briefcase, you get me a biro, you get me a paperclip, and you get a haircut. Like, people have stopped listening. You haven't got to the end, and if you have, again, you just sound a little bit weird again. The joke only works when it's the third part here. And it's a useful, fun technique when you have to include a list of items, and it doesn't matter if you're trying to be funny, like the you get me a haircut, we're trying to lighten the tone, or if you need to be just very seriously getting through examples. This is still a useful technique. So this book stimulates the senses, stimulates the mind, and with a price like this, it stimulates the economy. Okay, and if I sound a little bit like a politician, it's because politicians long ago learnt the power of this technique. And once you've noticed it actively, you will probably notice it all over the place, in advertising, in political speak, everywhere. So there's nothing to stop you using it to add a bit of spice into your own writing. So this lesson comes with some homework. There's quite a lot of homework because we're at the start of the course and you're energetic and I'm feeling, drunk on power. And so I'm going to give you 3 tasks, but don't worry, not every day's material is going to give you this much. But number 1, head over to the private Facebook group. I hope you've all found the link to that. If not, ask us, because we'd hate for you to miss out. Tell us about the kind of writing you do or that you want to do. The group is private. It's only open to students who have signed up to this course. So that means there might be a bit of a delay after you click join group before us just checking that you have paid and that you belong. Click on the link to download the lessons worksheet. Fill it in as you go through, either on the text or the video, and just try out the different ways of thinking and the techniques we've talked about today. And finally, take out a recent piece of writing of yours and cut it by 10%. Be ruthless, and then pop over to the Facebook group and let us know what helped you cut things out. Did you notice you were actually really bad at rambling? Is your passive tense all over the place? Have you noticed that you actually just have a paragraph that just didn't even need to be there? It just didn't belong? Let us know and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.